Okay, hello everyone. Nice to meet you today, Eric, Alexei. Thank you for joining tonight's webinar. And the topic that I want to speak about is partnership with self. So I'm going to share my PPT file with you and then start. So my name is Alexandra Dobrynina. I live in China, Wenzhou city. I'm coach ICF of inner sustainability and freedom, trainer and author. And as I said, today we will speak about partnership with self. Since childhood, we have been taught to build relationships with different people, including kids in kindergarten, teachers, and others at school, university, with employees, colleagues, partners, parents, parents with kids, kids with parents, etc. Simply put, anyone with anyone, anywhere, and any kind of relationship and communication. There are a lot of books, articles, videos, and training courses about finding a common language with any person on this planet. There are different types of therapy, including personal, family, children's, different types of team coaching, business psychology, and leadership development. And there are millions of Facebook groups where people ask for different relationship advice. We all know, I hope, how to distinguish manipulation and abuse, how to read emotions and gestures, tone of voice, and what questions to ask in order to get more out of the relationship. But I don't remember a single source that would help me to learn how to build relationship with myself. Therefore, today I would like to talk about the terrible consequences of unhealthy social engagements and about healthy relationships with ourselves and the tools that could help us to make small steps and build partnerships primarily with ourselves. I think that only by building a healthy relationship with self, we can build a healthy relationship with the outside world. Partners, children, relatives, and society, while remaining autonomous, observing and noticing what is happening around. Of course, this is easier said than done. And many may wonder what a healthy relationship with oneself may look like. But let's try to at least begin this complicated topic. While preparing the information for today's meeting, I remembered a phone call with my mom last year. I called to wish her a happy birthday and wished her what she would like to wish to herself. A common story, right? Her answer was even more widespread, and it was the same from year to year. So from year to year, she wants her children, that is me and my sister, to be happy. Quite a decent wish, right? I didn't pay much attention to such an answer before, and I didn't pose any counter questions. But last year, I said that everything was already fine with us, and it would be boring to wish for the same things every year. And then I asked what she would wish for herself for the next year. Any plans or any desires that we children could help her to fulfill. And unfortunately, I didn't get any answer. Maybe because mom was too shy to ask, or maybe because she always lived life for the sake of others, where maybe her desires or dreams or wishes were not that important. And she had never learned to live her own life, secretly influencing us and our lives the way she wanted. Nevertheless, the contribution to the lives of her children allowed her to not feel lonely. I hope that you understand what I mean. In general, these thoughts and memories of this conversation led me to look for the statistics that you are now seeing on your screen. At first, I was interested to see how elderly people live their lives in different countries. Later, my curiosity led me to a huge analytical data on the number of lonely elderly people in the world. And in some articles, I began to meet the general statistics of people of different ages who feel lonely. That is, people of different ages and different professions living in different countries are subject to loneliness. Some articles finally led me to the information that loneliness has a wide range of negative effects on both physical and mental health, including alcohol and drug misuse, antisocial behavior, decreased memory and learning, depression and suicide, increased stress level, poor decision making, etc. Often, more often, I guess because of patterns or limiting beliefs, we bring ourselves to situations of emotional dependence on people or events, trying to cover holes in our souls with other people, business, work, informational flow, and inventing circumstances where we can feel useful, waiting for the praise from the outside world, leaving aside ourselves. All these, I call it sublimations, perfectly cope with loneliness, but unfortunately, for the time being. And as a result, they still lead to the point from which we are trying to escape. A rat race. One of my clients calls that is happening in his life. Do you know what race mean? Actually, my dear audience and listeners, you can take part and answer my questions if you want. But as far as I know, rat race is an endless, self-defeating or pointless pursuit. For several weeks, the client has been dealing with his discomfort and mental tension from the words must and need. But the client himself doesn't yet understand who needs and to whom he owns. In each coaching session, the space narrows down to external factors that affect the client's life, keep him in a state of anxiety and the inability to break free of the situation. So the client has everything, a lot of responsibility that doesn't belong to him, the fear that he may be worse, slower, stupider than others for some parameters only known to him, and so on. Simply put, there is everything around him except himself. And suddenly, at the end of the last session, there was an insight. I can feel myself when I'm not bored. Is it possible to consider this phrase as a basis and reflect on the fact that boredom is an indicator of loss of communication or partnership with oneself? I have a feeling that I'm living a life where there is no me, myself, says another client who has been looking for the core or meaning of his own life for several months. The insight that he is living a life where there is no himself has appeared recently. He has everything that an average person needs, even a cat. But he, himself, is not in this life. I even got the feeling sorry, I have some issues with my computer. Um, so I got the feeling that he lives in a vicious circle of comparing himself with others. But he could manage and clear his space from the outside international informational flow and concentrate on himself. What was the most interesting, the insight has not arisen from nowhere, but appeared in the process of our long-term work. The client, remembering himself, was surprised at how sociable, communicative, open, and free he was. And now there is nothing left. No desires, no dreams, and even more, he doesn't want anything to do. that my client admitted during one of our sessions. So what happened during his life and brought him to the point of despair and the feeling of absence of himself in his own life? And what is happening now? Is it really time? A middle life crisis where he found that slight connection with self, and it remains only to establish partnership with himself. Several years ago, I also found myself in the shackles of society, completely unaware of my own essence of being. The fear of not conforming to something, the fear of defending, at least voicing my interests, the fear of declaring my needs. And behind all this, anxiety haunted me constantly. Then at some point, I realized that I was not free. I was not free at all. Not physically, but internally, mentally. And there's a reason I'm emphasizing inner freedom here, because physically, we are all free. We can move freely, travel, we can be interested in something, explore and learn, but something constantly shackles and stops us. Either fear, laziness, or inability to plan our time, or all together. We tend to live in the outside world. We try to adapt our own to its rules and frameworks and wonder why we are so cramped, bored, and lonely here. Inner freedom cannot arise without partnership with oneself. So I think that all these stories, as well as the statistics that I showed earlier, are connected by one plot: the process of life itself, regardless of age, gender, religion, culture, or social situation. They are connected by the lack of communication and friendship with oneself, like the one we built with people around us. They are connected by the fact that we are an example to the younger generation who have inherited and inherit a similar lifestyle where there is no partnership with self. Unfortunately, as I noticed, we do not have a culture of building partnership with ourselves. But the fact that this partnership has many advantages, including the process of growing up from childhood to young and then middle and old age. So, what does the expression partnership with self mean? And how can it help us in our daily life? And even more, how can partnership with self help us in building our unknown but known future? For me, partnership with self is a process of searching and forming an inner core, an internal sense of stability, and the process of self-worth cultivation. This is a life without rat races, anxiety, comparison, and emotional involvement in something that doesn't belong to me. that is shifting the focus of attention from the outside world to the internal one. And this is a life full of curiosity, courage, and openness to the unknown. A life full of research and step-by-step formation of one's own worldview. Of course, we cannot be completely isolated from the outside world, from the society, but we can build sustainability, stand on our own 2 feet, and build a life following our needs and not the needs of others. So how can we focus on the self? In this world, there are many limiting beliefs and limitations that the outside world built around us. And it's a question. And I found some key tools that have helped me strengthen my partnership with self, or we can say how I became a better friend of myself. One of the first steps to partnership with self is to realize the fact that I am the way I am, as I am. I am in every sense of my being. I can feel my heart beating. I can feel my lungs when I'm breathing. I can feel a smile that appears from the feeling of pleasure as well as tears. I can live with dozens of emotions every minute. I can be different. I'm alive. I am my body, its reactions to everything happening in this reality. Neither mind, not mental wills, not endless thoughts, but only internal recognition of reaction and impulses and the correct interpretation allow me to explore the world around me. And this understanding leads to an incredible discovery called self-trust, which seems to disappear during life, being covered with thick layers of social fears, automatism, patterns, and beliefs. The second step for me was to cultivate this self-trust. This means treating self humanly, without violence, but with the interest and sympathy. I think that self-trust is a fundamental condition for human interaction with the outside world. The one who doesn't trust oneself doesn't trust others. And he or she certainly needs another person because they do not trust themselves. Without trusting oneself, it's frightening to live in this world. You have to constantly look for support from the outside world and live with an eye on others, or turn others into things, objects, to satisfy one's own needs. So self-trust teaches me to be autonomous and sustainable, and teaches me to be my own friend with my own support. So the next step to the partnership with self was setting well-defined boundaries and cultivating self-respect and self-worth. Here, I learned to choose following to my true needs. For example, I want or not to communicate with this or that person, get involved or not in certain social games, or chase something or not that not belong to me. And this process is like hammering a nail into a smooth wooden surface. You squeeze in completely, making room for the whole self and the way you are. You can no longer work around wearing different masks, expressing submission, or scraping in front of someone who, in fact, has nothing to do with you, but only because it's socially praised and it's not scary. Became a best friend of mine. I started taking care of my physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. I found time for a healthy lifestyle, including regular exercise, nutrition, and rest. The amazing thing here is that when you find time for yourself in this non-stop cycle of life, you begin to learn to observe yourself, track your reactions to certain events, reactions and behaviors of other people, and influence yourself in a good sense of this word. Namely, to choose that strategy or behavior from the position that suits me, but not someone else. Self-observing and including feelings and emotions, and interpreting and understanding their reasons, allowed me to get to know myself even more. Acceptance of vulnerability becomes even stronger, which makes me more sensitive, and I begin to experience what is on the other side: courage and joy. A willingness to accept feelings and emotions at the moment now allows me to realize, to catch the situations where feelings, desires, and expectations of one person are redirected and applied to another person, and vice versa, like kind of unconscious communication tricks. Self-absorbing taught me not to build illusions as a way of self-protection, but to be with what I feel at a certain moment. Such a moment of synchronization with self, return to the essence of being, or partnership with self. During the process of establishing a close relationship with self, I have had and still have many questions concerning to the development and evolution of the person, a group of people, and society. Issues related to philosophy, psychology, economics, and other fields. This process of self-development out of curiosity and interest is also part of the process of establishing a partnership with the self. All knowledge is assimilated and processed and forms an incredible foundation of voluminous personality that automatically breaks out of shackles, ceases to participate in races, and definitely has her oneself. It turned out to a huge list and seemed complicated, I guess. By the way, each step towards partnership with self is accomplished by the energy release, which previously was spent on fighting with the world around me. But now the released energy is directed to exploring this world, searching for meanings, interesting collaborations, and meeting with people who also learned how to build partnerships with themselves and the world around. I have gained the mental freedom that I could only dream before. I have the courage to take responsibility for my life and decisions. And this, in turn, gives me the opportunity to move on and discover new facets, not only of my personality, but also the diversity of this life. Life has become interesting for me. And there is no place for loneliness or boredom, which my clients talked about. If I have been taught as a child how to become a friend to myself, I would have cultivated all the skills mentioned above, step by step during all my life. And they would have been gradually integrated into my life and would have become my foundation, sustainability that we often lack in our adulthood. But I don't regret even a bit about the question that shifted the focus of attention from the outside world to the internal one. That helped me to raise a healthy self-perception and self-attitude. His birthday. I'm sure that every adult can begin to build partnership with self at any age, step by step, mastering the skill of healthy relationship with self in order, firstly, to be an example to our children every single moment, and secondly, to break free of seemingly unknown but quite well-known future in old age. I don't insist, but I still suggest performing this experiment and started cultivating partnership with yourself for the sake of a better, healthy future for yourself, your children, and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Eric, Alexei, maybe you have some or any questions? Thank you, Alexandra. That was very interesting. Eric.
Alexandra, thank you so much. And Marina, thank you for bringing us together again. Eric, nice to see you.
Yes.
Alexandra, it's so important reminder what you just brought to us, you know, how it's important to take care about ourselves. And thank you so much for share your experience and your personal stories and tools and examples. And it's so, for me personally, it's so important to hear it today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Alexei.
Yeah, I want to say the same thing. Thank you very much. And really, what you come to mind from what your presentation was, you know, at least I know in my field, I'm in the same field as you. You know, we're kind of always there for other people, you know, and sometimes we forget to, you know, be there for ourselves. So this was a good reminder for me to really, you know, look into my internal life and nurture that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's true. That's true. And I think that it's about everyone in this world.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's something that doesn't get talked about much, loneliness. You know, I mean, it's part of the human condition, but we don't talk about it. It's kind of like the elephant in the room. You also highlighted something that I think that, you know, as you were saying, it's the cause of a lot of you know, addiction and other problems come out of the lack of feeling connected to oneself. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when I searched for the information and when I saw the statistics, I was really wondered. And I have never even thought about that. And when I saw the numbers, it was painful for me how it comes like that so many people, and not only old ages, but younger ages and our children, they also feel lonely and they don't know how to cope with the situation. And the statistics are of different psychological disorders, including alcohol, drugs, and gaming. It's
I think there's a connection issue.
Yes, I think that Alexandra is frozen.
That there is a statistic, but there are also many people who just have this issue and they don't speak out about it. Maybe they're afraid, maybe they feel that it's something that they should not speak about, right? And they just try to find the solution, or maybe not. We also don't know about that.
Exactly. You know, it's ironic also, you know, just as you were speaking, your connection got cut off. So we couldn't hear you for about 10, 15 seconds. And I was about to say that also one of the downsides of technology is that it's a way of separating us. You know, so anyway, yeah. It's a way of connecting us, but it's also a way of separating us. It's ironic. Yeah.
Marina, do you have anything to add, to share with us?
Well, I just wanted to thank you again for your very sincere and I think very deep and very maybe intimate as well topic. And thank you for your courage of raising this question, because it's I think that it's really important, as Eric has said, to remind first of all ourselves and all our all people who will watch us later. And it's really important to help people find the way to change the situation as well, and to reconnect, and at least to be aware of this problem and start making some steps in order to connect with ourselves and build this partnership with self. It's really, really important. And as you have mentioned, it's really important. Put the mask self, yes, in the air, on the board of the airplane. So
Yeah.
It's really important to remind that only after the fulfilling our own needs, vital needs, we can help others. And it's a very good example of how it could be illustrated. So thanks again. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Alexei.
Sure thing.
Yes.
Wow.
Just wonderful meetings online together, connected with our minds, hearts.
Yes. Okay.
Fantastic.
I'm going to sign off now.
Thank you.
Have a brilliant rest of the day.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. See you.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Good day, good evening, and good night, Sandra in China. Bye.